For today's O'Reilly Auto Parts 500. We are joined by our second place finisher, Kevin Harvick, driver of the number 4 Busch Lite Ford. Kevin, you had a pretty good battle getting going there at the end with the number 18. Why don't you just take us through those last few laps?
Yeah, it's just been a frustrating 2 days. We've had a pathetic day on 2 days on pit road because we can't get pit guns that work in our pit stalls. So, today we had to pit under green, got ourselves a lap down because the pit guns work half the time and then they don't half the time. Yesterday we had 4 loose wheels because, the pit guns can't get the tires tight. So our guys did a great job with a really fast race car, and I feel bad for the guys on pit road because they get handed, just absolutely inconsistent pieces of equipment. And today it wound up costing us a race. We've had 4 or 5 issues with the pit guns this year as we've gone through the year, and we wound up winning the race. And so, it's unfortunate that we have to use a piece of equipment that is handed to us, and that dictates your day.
All right, we'll open up to questions for Kevin. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. Over here to Drew.
Kevin, are pit guns that hard to get new ones? Why hasn't the team changed them if you guys have had such issues?
NASCAR hands us the guns. Maybe you should learn the rules.
We'll go up here to Jerry.
Jerry Fairley, Dallas Morning News. Kevin, has your organization appealed this to NASCAR or pointed this out, the failing of the gun?
We've talked to them. Everybody on pit road has talked to them. This is 4 out of 7 weeks that we've had, trouble with the pit guns. And yesterday the rear pit gun wouldn't even. We had 2 lug nuts that were tight in the last 2 pit stops, and you had 2 lug nuts that had 30 pounds of torque on them, and today, you have another one that the wheel doesn't even get tight. So, it's just it's a mess.
Go over here.
Elliot Stern, Santa Maria Times. Even with that trouble, you came back strong. Did you think at the end that you could catch Kyle Busch?
Kyle had a decent car. It's just in traffic, our car wasn't as good as it was, obviously, in clean air, and he did a good job of not making any mistakes there at the end, and kept his car on the bottom and never gave us an opening to really drive in there and be able to capitalize on a mistake. He kept his car right on line and did exactly what he needed to do, and it was fast enough to be able to keep us back there, and my car would slide the front tires, and we had some trouble keeping the car on the bottom once I would get close to him. So I needed the whole run to capitalize on the full strength of our car with his car. I felt like him in the 78 probably had the best 2 cars aside from ours on the racetrack, and it just took a long time to get to the point of being able to pass them. And so, you can overcome a lot of things, and we had a super fast car today, but in the end, pitting under green, for the wheel is what put the dagger in it, and we just didn't make it all the way back.
Any final questions for Kevin? All right, Kevin, thanks for joining us. Good luck next week at Bristol. Speedway. We are joined by Jamie McMurray, driver of the number 1 Cessna Chevrolet, who finished 3rd in today's race. Jamie, pretty strong run out there. Why don't you just take us through it, please?
Yeah, it was basically just a really good day for us from the start of the race. The car was pretty good, especially on the long runs. And then fortunate to miss a lot of the wrecks that happened and survived, and then had good pit stops. So all around, just a pretty solid day for our team.
All right, we'll open up to questions for Jamie. Please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless mic to you. Jerry in the front.
Jerry Fraley, Dallas Morning News. Jamie, Kevin Harvick was just in here and said his crew had a ton of problem with the pit guns, and that's been going on all year. Has your crew experienced any of those same difficulties?
You mean today or just in general? Yeah, I think there's a huge adjustment to get used to those. The pit guns that we've used in the past, there was a lot of work that went into those to get them to the level they were at, and the pit guns that we get from NASCAR are not, they're not even close to that same level. So think there's a big adjustment for the teams, and I don't know if we've had any problems throughout the year with the pit guns.
All right, we're going to go up to the press box next for a question from Lee.
Lee Spencer, Racing Boys. I've got a question about, you said the off week couldn't have come at a better time for your team. You guys struggled at the beginning of the year. Best finish so far was 16th, and then you come back and just look totally strong in the closing laps. Can you talk about what you guys did to regroup?
Well, we ran okay at Vegas and Phoenix, and blew a right front at Vegas, and then I had to pit with like 10 laps to go or 8 laps to go at Phoenix, and ended up losing a couple of laps because of another tire issue. Then had to pit again at Martinsville because of a left rear tire rub with like 10 laps to go. So we've run okay. We certainly haven't run as well as we did today, but we've run okay this year. But today certainly was our best performance. We had some different stuff in our car. You try to learn in the off season, and some of the stuff that we tried at the beginning of the year didn't work out. So we went back to similar to what we had last year, and we ran really well on the mile and a halfs, and our performance was way better today than it's been all year long. So hopefully we can continue to work with that setup and those parts and perform each week.
Any final questions for Jamie downstairs? Over here to Elliot.
Elliot Stern, Santa Maria Times. You started 24th. You worked your way up into the top 10 at about lap 175.
Are you asking me or telling me?
No, I'm telling you that. But and then you stuck with it. You got way up.
Yeah.
So how do you attribute that? That was it.
Well, it's hard to pass. So it takes a long time. You work on guys. Our car, fortunately, was pretty good on older tires. We didn't have as much fall off, but it's hard to pass. And part of the reason it took me so long to get up there as well is I got stuck on the outside on the restarts. And so maybe you'd get up to 10th or 12th, and then have a restart on the outside and lose 4 or 5 spots, and you might spend the next 60 laps trying to get those positions back. The outside got better as the race went on, but it was really bad at the beginning of the race.
Anything final for Jamie? All right, Jamie, thanks for joining us. Good luck at Bristol next week. Media availabilities, we are now joined by our 4th place finisher, Erik Jones, driver of the number 20 Reesers Toyota. Erik, you had a really strong run out there today, led a bunch of laps. Why don't you just take us through your race?
Overall, it was really pretty happy with it. So, we started off and we didn't qualify where we wanted to or where we thought we were capable of for sure. So we had some work to do early on to get up towards the front. But, we gained some spots early. The pit crew did a phenomenal job, a huge step up for them. That's something to really be proud of. They've had a rough few weeks, and to get them into a groove where they were really hammering out some good stops was nice. So, overall, the Reese's Camry was fast. I don't think we had anything for the 18 or the 4, but it was good to run up in the top 5 and lead a few laps there along the way.
All right, we're going to get started with questions for Erik. We're actually going to go up to the press box first for Lee, and then we'll go to Pat.
Lee Spencer, RacingBoys.com. Talk about what you learned racing against those guys. I mean, you might not have had enough speed to keep up with Harvick or Kyle, but what did you learn racing against them, and how, with all the wrecks that were happening, how pivotal was it for you to be there rather than mid-pack or someplace where you would have, been in harm's way?
Well, it was really important to stay up front here for a few reasons. Number one, the wrecks, always seem to kind of happen from, 8th on back. And then secondly, track position is huge here. It's really tough to pass. Like I said, the pit crew did a great job getting us spots all day. We got a few on the racetrack, but it was pretty challenging. And then your other question, I think you always learn something racing with Kyle or Harvick or any of those guys of those caliber. They're very fast, and Kyle especially is very fast. And, it was fun racing with him. It was frustrating. I was sitting in second place watching him drive away by about a half a car length a lap, and kind of shaking my head because it seems like every time I get to lead some laps, he comes up and spoils it. So, hopefully one day we can get up there and challenge him for one of these wins. And but like I said, along the way you always learn something. The way he was driving the track was a little bit different than myself, and I felt like I learned something from when we come back.
We'll go to Pat and then back upstairs to Jim.
Pat Ticola, NASCAR.com. Erik, to your left. No matter the series, it seems like you always have run really well here. What is it about Texas that really kind of suits your style?
It's tough to put a pinpoint on it, really. I think the old Texas, I remember the first time I came here, I didn't like the place at all. And then the second time, I liked it a little bit more. And then we won an Xfinity race here, and I felt like I just kind of slowly figured it out. And then we had a lot of success in the Xfinity series along the way the last few years. So with the repave, it changed it quite a bit. But I think overall, it's just a good combination. I think I'm really comfortable here and really have a good idea what I want my car to do. But also, JGR is really fast here. They've been fast here for years on the old track and now on the new track. So, I think it's just a good combination. I was fortunate to be in that position, figure it out quickly, and just the whole package kind of worked.
We'll go to Jim and then Nate and Bob.
Jim Hutter, motorsport.com. Erik, you came in Friday and said that you had marked this race on, kind of circled it on the calendar that as a place that you could turn around and get a really good finish. What do you think you and your team needs to do now to carry what you accomplished today forward and make it consistent?
Well, that's a tough question. I think just staying all on the same page and making sure we're all working together and heading in the right direction is the big thing. We've done a good job of that to this point, even with some of this. We had a few struggles early on, so it was nice to have the team really stick together, even though it was kind of a new group that hadn't all really worked together as one. It was nice to see everybody stay heading in the same direction and the same goal. Hard work doesn't always equal success, but it definitely doesn't hurt either. So it's just nice to see that it's paid off, from not only the road guys and Chris and Mikey, our engineers, Jake, but the pit crew working hard too and picking it up each week and getting better and better. So it's a whole package deal. It's not just from the seat or the box. It's everybody working together and doing it right.
Go to Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Erik, you said, I think, toward the end of the race on the radio that 500 miles was a real difficult challenge for you. Can you just talk about, was this race in particular more challenging, or is it just a matter of you just got to get acclimated in year two of these kind of marathon races?
I think, it was just funny to me because we've only ran, the 500. I didn't run all 500 miles. So beyond that, we've only had 400-mile races, and they seemed quick this year to me. Like, it was just like, man, it seemed like a truck race. So we came here, and I was like, this race is dragging. It's not like I was wore out or anything. I was just, it just seemed like it was never going to end for a minute. So, with the red flag and everything, it kind of exaggerated that thought that was running through my mind. But there's long races. I don't know if I'll ever get used to racing 500 miles. I mean, it's a long time. And, I think overall this year I just have a better idea of how to race them. There's a lot of times early in the race today where I gave up spots and gave up positions and thought, we'll just come back and get them later. And that's not something that I would have done last year. So definitely have a better feel for them this year going in. I feel like you're trying to get me in trouble now. In my opinion only, I think 400 miles is enough. I think there's marquee races that need to stay, Daytona 500, Southern 500, Coke 600. But I do think, 400 miles is probably enough. Yep.
We'll go to Bob and then back upstairs to Chris and Lee.
Bob Ponkers, ESPN, 4 top 10s and 7 races this year. Is that a good enough start? That and 1 top 5 now?
Yeah, to an extent. I think, those top 10s, a couple of them were a little lucky, and, the other ones were pretty straight up. We were pretty quick. But, for me, the top 10s this year are good, but, we really want to run the top 5 and get up there and contend and lead laps. We really want to win a race this year, and today was a step in the right direction. I'd like to run, obviously more like today more often. And, I think it was somewhat of a transition. The cars are a little different this year. It's a new group. It's a new process for Chris over at JGR. It's new engineers for him. It's a new environment for me as well. So, overall, it was a little bit of a learning curve and kind of figuring everything back out. But I feel like we're settling into our groove a little bit. And, this is a good 2-week stretch for us coming in. I was pretty excited going to Texas #1 and then off to Bristol here next week. So fun weeks for me, 2 of my favorite tracks. So we just need to keep it going.
We'll go upstairs to Chris and then Lee.
Chris Knight, GetFence.com. Erik, speaking of Bristol, you head there next weekend, and obviously how you ran there last year, had a shot at your first Cup victory. What's your outlook?
Overall, I mean, I think we look to contend for the win again. I mean, that's my outlook and my hope and goal. I think going up and being up front again is what we should do. The track's going to be really similar. I believe they're applying the VHT on the bottom again. We went there and tested again last fall and did a tire test, and we were really fast. So hopefully we can just be quick again. Obviously, there's been some other manufacturers that are really strong this year and have been really fast and hard to beat, but, I think Bristol's a little bit different animal, such as Martinsville. So we'll see, but, definitely expectations are to run really well and lead some laps to contend.
We'll stay upstairs with Lee.
Lee Spencer again. Wanted to ask you about John Daly reference. I didn't think you were a big golfer, so it seemed to at least lighten the moment for you in the car and for the guys on the pit box.
Well, it was a code for one of our pit road scenarios, but so it goes back to the other day. I found out for some reason I was talking about John Daly. I knew a guy that had met him, and I was telling a story about John Daly, which I can't tell here, and there was a couple guys on my team, they didn't know who he was, and I was surprised. So I'm like, I can't believe you don't know who this guy is. He's he's really kind of a blue collar golfer. And so we looked him up, and I showed him to the guys that didn't know. One of them was Mikey, my engineer, and he makes up all the codes before the race. So he came down on pit road after, and he's like, hey, this call, you see this one? I'm like, yeah. He said, that's the John Daly call. And I said, okay. And he's like, I really hope we get to use it today. And I said, well, good luck. And sure enough, they got to use it, so it was kind of funny. They were excited about it.
Do we have any final questions for Erik? All right, Erik, congratulations, and good luck next week.
Thanks.
500 at Texas Motor Speedway. We are being joined by some members of our race-winning team, which was the number 18 Interstate Batteries Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. We have the crew chief, Adam Stevens, and we're also being joined by car owner, Coach Joe Gibbs. Adam, why don't you just take us through that, at least the final few laps from the pit box, if you can stay on the chair.
I'll see what I can do. The final few laps, gosh, I don't know. Once we made that last green flag stop, I was committed to not pitting again, so it was kind of out of my hands at that point. It was just to see if we could hold off the four. They had a really good car. They were fast, but it seemed like we were pretty evenly matched, and it was going to be a tall task to pass another car that was evenly matched, as it would have been for us to pass him. So Kyle got up on the wheel and busted out those last 25 laps, and here we are.
And Coach, in addition to Kyle winning, obviously we had Erik in fourth place for the team. Why don't you just talk about that for Joe Gibbs Racing?
I got to tell you, Erik is really coming on for us. We think we got somebody there that's really talented. Resource was on that car. We were excited for them and leading laps. And having a chance up front was really special. But the other thing about coming to Dallas for us is I showed up on Norm Miller's doorstep, the story is, with nothing but a sheet of paper. I didn't have a driver. I didn't have a race shop. I had zero, nothing. And he took a chance on us. And for us to be able to be back here, be in Dallas, in his backyard, and get a win for Interstate was really awesome. I called Mars and Victoria and the people there just to thank them because they're the major player on that car. But having Norm on it and being a partner with them, they get along great. It's really a special day for us. I really appreciate everybody back at the race shop. We did a little Facebook thing with them and thanked everybody, JD and everybody back home. So it's a huge deal for us.
All right, we will open up to questions for Adam and Coach. We'll start here with Pat and then go to Jerry. Pat, could you raise your hand again?
Pat Nicola, NASCAR.com for Coach. I'll let you take a sip first. You need to. It seemed like you gave an especially passionate speech to the crew after. Just wondering if you could share part of that message that you gave to them with us.
Well, I just, everybody knows that this sport is so hard for these guys. We go 38 weeks. They're traveling all the time on a weekend. And it's a lot of hard work back at the shop. Our pit crew today, I think Adam will tell you this, just did a great job for us. It's total team. You have a tendency, you say it's, just a driver, and I know Adam gets so much credit because they deserve it, but it's a lot of those people behind them And everybody back at our shop is what makes us as strong as we are. And so when we get a chance after a victory like that, I like to get the guys together and we have a little prayer and just thank the Lord for having a great day and letting us do something that's so exciting. Most people around the world never get to have a day like this, never even have enough to eat. And here we are getting to race cars and have fun. So we're just thankful.
We'll go to Jerry and then to Bob.
Jerry Jordan, kicking the tire stand at and PRN. Adam, I know we're 7 races in, but when a guy like Kyle Busch hasn't gotten a win yet or gotten, does it feels like, have y'all brought what y'all need? I mean, you're qualified for the playoffs now, and what does this open up for the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, if you just take a step back and look how competitive we've been each and every week, we've had cars up front, so I didn't feel awful. It wasn't like, feel a lot worse if we were coming to the track and weren't competitive, So we come to the track and we come to win, and we've just come up short. We've led a lot of laps and been nipping at their heels, but just haven't been able to put it all together. And if you keep putting yourself in those positions and we keep building good cars at the shop and everybody keeps working together and pulling the rope in the same direction and we keep having good pit stops and Kyle keeps doing what he's doing behind the wheel, you're going to win races, and you're going to win your fair share and at a fairly high clip. And we've been right there at it all year long, and we're able to get it done today.
We'll come up front to Bob.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. I have two for Joe. When you see Kyle a little frustrated at places like Martinsville after finishing second, are you like, good, he's in a good spot, or are you concerned like, oh, you'll get your win, you'll be all right?
Actually, those are long weeks. He's upset afterwards, but I think, during the week there we have our competition meeting, and Adam does such a good job. I think Kyle's got a lot of confidence in Adam and our team, but it is frustrating when you're, you feel like, second sometimes, it's so hard. And then when you have several of those, you just kind of feel like it kind of builds up. But I'm glad we get this one, and the way we got it at the end, and to race, the 4-car like that, and you're two of the top cars and battling down the stretch. I thought it was a great finish.
And I was wanting to ask you, Harvick went off a little bit on the pit guns and them being handed out to everybody and them still not working all the time. I'm curious what your experiences have been, and do you feel like these growing pains are worth it if it saves you the money of developing them?
No, I don't. And I don't like things not in our hands. So, I've be quite truthful. I've taken a stand on that, and that's something that I hope we continue to really evaluate. Continue to evaluate that.
We'll go over here to Jeff and then to Nate.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. I had a question for Adam about the pit guns. The boss is sitting right there and already expressed an opinion on this, but have you had any problems this year with them, and how much of a concern is it for you when you're coming into pit stop whether they're going to be reliable or not?
Yes, we have had problems. I don't keep a mental list, but I think California was the last time we had an issue, so we got through the last 2 races without an issue, to the best of my knowledge. We haven't had a catastrophic failure, like sockets falling off or something that you maybe seen on somebody else's car. We've had a couple button issues. We've had a couple pressure issues. So, is it concerning? It is. You can't change your race strategy. If you need tires, you need tires. So I think it puts a lot of doubt in the changers' minds and probably makes them make more mistakes up and down pit road than maybe what they would have if they had more confidence in their equipment. It doesn't change how you call a race, but you're definitely on edge, listening for a problem, looking for a problem, and just ready to adjust. If your number comes up, then your number comes up.
We'll stay up front with Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports, also for you, Adam. There were a couple of penalties and one non-call on uncontrolled tires today, and in one particular instance, they let one go on Harvick's team that allowed him to challenge you guys at the end. I'm wondering if you saw that, if you thought that was a penalty, and if you had any opinion on how they're calling the uncontrolled tires this year?
No, I'm sorry, Nate. I didn't see it. I was really focused on what we were trying to do. But, you know, that's something that when a situation like that happens, we will evaluate that and try to get clarification so that we know what the rules are going forward, you know. Generally, they're pretty consistent about that, you know, but not having seen it, I can't tell you exactly if I would have called it a penalty myself or not. But, you know, at the end of the day, it didn't affect the race for us. But I guess the guys behind him that finished behind him, you know, would have been a spot better if he would have gotten called for a penalty. So I'll have to look at that video.
Your understanding is as long as it's an arm's length away, then they're probably going to call it a tire?
Yeah, if it's outside of your control, then they generally call it a penalty. But I have not seen what happened. Or if you let go of it before halfway back in the box when you're rolling it back to the wall.
We're going to go up to the press box to Lee.
I had a question, Coach, about Erik Jones, and if you could just talk a little bit about his development so far. The kid's got tremendous speed, and I guess if you can ever get that, you know, channeled going in the right direction, the kid's going to win lots of races.
Yeah, I think it too. It's having everything around him, and obviously he's had some changes here. We started with the 77 with him and brought him over, and so there has been quite a bit going on with changes around him. I think as soon as we get everything kind of settled down, but I think for him, what he's got is he's got real speed every place we go. He shows that, and you know, Toyota for a long time has really felt like he could be somebody that's really special, and we do too, and everything we see about him, we feel that way. So I think today was a good example. I thought he had a shot today, and he did too. He thought he had a chance.
Do we have any final questions for Adam and Coach? All right, gentlemen, congratulations on the win. Good luck next week.
Thank you.
Going to wrap up our post-race media availabilities for today's O'Reilly Auto Parts 500. We are joined by our race winner, Kyle Busch, driver of the number 18 Interstate Batteries Toyota. Kyle, this is your third win here at Texas. Obviously, you seem to do pretty well in the spring here. Why don't you just take us through that end and holding off the 4-car?
Yeah, it was certainly you know, a really good day for us. Our Interstate Batteries Camry was fast. We had good speed all day long. It was a little bit difficult to pass, you know, especially when you kind of got up to somebody. You know, you kind of play with that accordion effect from 4 to 6 lengths or so, and just trying to get that guy to make a mistake in order to get under him, in order to get by him. But you know, that was kind of the tail of the tape for a long time there, and at the end, you know, myself with Harvick there that last restart, I got a really good restart, was able to kind of get away a little bit. Looked like I'd shut his air off a couple times. He got loose and kind of fell back a little, but then was able to kind of run it back down to get within that 6.54 lengths back, and you know, he kind of stopped there, felt out. That was as close as he could get, thankfully. You know, I was just kind of focusing on what I was doing, making sure I could hit all my marks and hit all my laps there at the end of the race. And if I didn't make a mistake, then he was just going to have to get by me and just outtake us and or overtake us and be able to get the race for himself. But we held him off, and good day for us in Interstate Batteries Toyota here at Texas Motor Speedway.
All right, we'll open up to questions for Kyle. We'll start in the middle with Jerry Jordan and then come up front to Jerry Fraley.
Jerry Jordan, Kicking the Tires.net, PRN. You've already changed it on Wikipedia. You have tied Bill Elliott number of wins in the Cup Series. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's cool. It's you know, certainly anytime you keep winning races and kind of keep moving up the ladder, it's really special. And for myself, and for as much as I love to win and hate to lose, it obviously feels a heck of a lot better when you can be here in this room and talking about a win rather than a second or a third or something like that, like we have been the past 6 weeks. So, you know, that's hopefully going to continue to grow and continue to get farther up, and we'll see how far we can get. All righty then. Well, watch out, Buck Baker.
All right, we'll go to Jerry and then Bob.
Jerry Fraley, Dallas Morning News. Kyle, it was just mentioned you're a proven winner. You've been very close this year. Nonetheless, is there any sense of relief to get the first win of the season?
Yes, it certainly is. You know, especially here at Texas, this is probably not one of my best racetracks. You know, we've definitely run well here, or run better here the last few years, but you know, you tend to struggle sometimes at some places, and this one's kind of one of those, especially with a repave for me. They're just not my favorites, you know. So to be out front and to have the track position when we did, how we did, was really great for us. My guys did an amazing job on pit road all day. We had that close call there with that one restart in 1 and 2 with Chase on our outside, and from there we were kind of able to work our way back up through traffic and kind of jump a couple guys under the pit stops there. But overall, I felt like our car was either first or second all day long.
We'll go to Bob and then up to the press box to Chris.
Bob Hocker, ESPN. Joe said that days after you finish second can be long days. I'm curious how many long days you had after Martinsville.
I don't know. I think he just says that because we go to the shop and I give everybody hell on Mondays or Tuesdays during our meetings, So that's kind of the biggest thing, is just making sure that you keep trying to put the drive in the fire and keep everybody lit up and fired up. And I feel like I'm pretty easy to be able to do that because of myself and my temperament and my drive and my focus and everything that I do behind the wheel. So as much as I give it everything I got, I want to make sure all of our people are giving it everything they've got too, and they've been doing a phenomenal job the last 3-4 years especially. Our Toyotas have been good. They've been fast, and Joe Gibbs Racing as a whole has been good, and everything with communication between all the teams has been phenomenal. So we'll just keep plugging along and keep going. I feel like we still need to improve more and more, and it feels good to be able to run as fast as we are with still, I feel like, the improvements that we can make. Yeah, man, you got to forget about it. You got to move on. It certainly stung driving home from Martinsville the whole way home, and from there, the next morning we were on the vacation. So I wasn't worried about anything after that.
We're going to go upstairs to the press box to Chris Knight.
Chris Knight, GetChance.com. Kyle, now that we saw you get your win today, can you get on the same roll that we saw Harvick did, where you got 3 wins in a row?
I don't know, possibly. We go to another couple of really good tracks for us, Bristol next week, and then I think Richmond after that. So obviously 2 really good places for us that we tend to run well at. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being able to get the job done at those places, and Bristol's one of my favorites. I know it's one of a lot of drivers' favorites. Harvick tends to run well there too, and Jones runs well there as well. So we just got to make sure that we do everything that we've done the past few times there to be fast and put a good race car on the racetrack for the race.
We'll go to Dominic in the middle and then to Jeff.
Dominic Ottagon with the Racing Experts in ESPN Albuquerque. 2-parter here. First one, second time in 2018, you've led the most laps in a race, and 57th time in your career. That's for 11th all-time on that list. If we can just get your thoughts on that first.
Well, I mean, anytime you're out front and you're being able to lead laps, that obviously gives you a better chance of winning the race. I think it was 2 years ago, I think I led the most laps in 5 or 6 races and lost all of them in a row, So that was pretty discouraging. But, to be able to be up front, to be able to lead laps, that just kind of shows that your team is good, you're capable of doing the right things. But, man, these things are just so hard to win. You got to have all the stars align, and, be able to put it all together is really challenging. So, fortunately for us, though, we're kind of working to continue our upswing in the way our things have been going this year with Joe Gibbs Racing and our team, and hopefully more are left to come.
And if we can get your comment also on leading the competition on stage points with 89 points, 7 races into 2018.
Again, just being up front. Just when you're up front and you got good pit stops and you have fast race cars, that obviously just is twofold. It comes to you pretty easily, When you struggle on Fridays and you don't qualify well, you got to start back or deeper in the field. That tends to hurt or hinder your opportunity to be able to pick up those stage points. So for us, we've been qualifying well. We've been fast. We've been running up front. We've been just doing the things that we need to do. So hopefully we can continue that.
We'll go over here to Jeff and then to Mark.
Jeff Gluck from jeffgluck.com. I know it had only been like 9 or 10 races since you had last won, but because you had finished second 4 times and Homestead was in there, had it seemed longer or more agonizing for you between your typical wins?
Yes and no. Certainly being that close, it gets a little old, a little faster, But, if you're finishing 5th or 10th or whatever and you're just not capable of winning, it certainly will draw out longer as well, too. But you know that you weren't there yet. Your stuff's not there yet, or you're just not getting the job done yet. But being as close as you are, that kind of hurts a little bit more, especially that final one, that one that matters, that Homestead one. That's probably the one that stings the most. And we just got to make sure that we can do the right things that don't happen again this year.
We'll go to Mark and then Adrian.
Mark Garrow for PRN.
Gotcha.
Hey, man. You still have the same drive, still the same fire and competitive spirit and all that, but you climbed out of the car at Martinsville pretty low-key for finishing the runner-up. Do you feel now that you handle some of the things that frustrate you or the frustrations themselves better?
This ain't no new Kyle talk again, is it? No. that doesn't exist. It's just the second place after Martinsville, it was obviously discouraging, but we were third to fourth for the early part of the race, and then we were second or third kind of the end of the race. Blaney was really fast, and then they kind of got tight, I guess, and fell back. But then the Boyer was up there, and he was one that I just couldn't really keep up with. I felt like I was trying to save my stuff to get there, to have a shot to give me one last bit at getting the win, and he was just really good. So there wasn't much there for me. So you can't get too disappointed in races that you were meant to finish second. The ones that really tick you off and get you deep down is when you're leading and you've led a lot of laps and somebody passes you, and then and you finish second. In that regard, somebody outdoes you there at the end. So I've had that happen to me. I've also done it to a few people, and so I know how much those ones sting.
We're going to go in the far left corner to Adrian, and then upstairs to Lee.
Adrian Beecher with theskyboat.com. Kyle, before the race, before the green flag even dropped, you captured a victory during driver introductions. You got a chance to make a true impact in a child's life. Could you just talk a little bit about that and how much moments like that correlates to success on the track for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was an awesome opportunity for Stanley. I really want to thank Stanley Racing and all the guys from Daniel Suarez's team and everything, that they had a child on the grid with us, with a couple of the drivers, me being one of them. And, it was really impactful to kind of meet him and talk to him for a few minutes and get a chance to kind of hear his story a little bit. And then we walked the intro stage, and I'm not sure if he got all the cheers. I'm definitely sure I got all the boos. So, it felt really good to just kind of make his day for 5 minutes. That's about what we had. But from there, we got on to the intro trucks and the ride around and everything else. So, it was pretty cool.
We'll go back upstairs to the press box to Lee.
Can you explain what happened after, I guess it was the stage 2 restart, where all of a sudden you just went sliding back through the field? What was going on with your car at that point?
Nothing. It was fine. It just, we had a restart there with Erik Jones. Erik chose the top, and we were kind of going to do the teammate restart, if you will. I was going to let him down getting into turn 1, and when I did that, Chase had a good enough run that he got to my outside, and he just got right on my door, real tight on my door, and just kind of sucked the air off my car and got me really loose, really sideways. So I was just chattering the rear tires and trying to get the car back under control, and guys were blitzing me and going by me and everything, and then just trying to regain everything. Getting into 3, I think I may have kind of boxed somebody or something happened where there was a wreck then behind me. I'm not sure, but the car was fine. It just took off real bad on that restart there. So no harm, no foul, thankfully for us, and we didn't get any part of any of the wreck or anything like that. So we just kind of focused forward there from there on out and got back up where we needed to.
Back up front to Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Kyle, on that note, after the Hamlin wreck, Brad Keselowski said that was the only thing you could blame was aerodynamics. Was that the instance where it seemed like guys were losing it in between 3 and 4 whenever somebody got on the outside and somebody was on the inside? Was it particularly dicey there, and was it surprising to you to see? It was a lot of veterans who lost control. I didn't see a lot of young guys who seemed to be losing out.
I don't know all the instances of who crashed or what all happened. I don't know. I'd have to see some replays of all of that. But yes, it does lend itself to aerodynamics. The guy on the outside just doesn't want to get any wider than he has to because of how wide the racetrack is. You want to stay in that black. You want to stay in that rubber. And the closer you can stay or the lower you can stay, the better the grip is. And so you're going to pinch that guy that's on the inside of you as much as you can in order to hold your position or keep that position if you're the guy on the outside, and sacrifice yourself. You're playing with fire. It's a double-edged sword. You can pin him and keep that spot, or you can pin him and crash, and he can take you with him. So you just kind of got to be mindful of that, and that's what happened with me and Chase. He just got on my door, pinned me a little bit tight, I thought, and sucked me around. So fortunately, I was able to hang on to it. We weren't at the speed that you are in 3 and 4 in 1 and 2 there. So I didn't crash, thankfully. But, yeah, that's just a product of being real tight on everybody's door like that.
Do we have any final questions for our race winner? All right, Kyle, congratulations.
Cool.
Thanks for joining
Thank
us.
you.